So President Trump made a totally incoherent statement in regards to the administration's escalation with Iran, and also their attempt to collapse the Iranian economy. Take a look.
We have one of the most powerful ships in the world that's loaded up, and we don't want to have to do anything. What I'd like to see with Iran, I'd like to see them call me. What they should be doing is calling me up, sitting down, we can make a deal, a fair deal. We just don't want them to have nuclear weapons. Not too much to ask.
You just ripped up a deal where those were the terms. The terms of the deal were Iran cannot make a nuclear weapon, and the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, gets to go in there all the time and regulate and check and make sure they're not enriching past a certain point, and that certain point is the line for power for their power grid and research. So that was already the deal, son. The deal was they are not going to make a nuclear weapon, and we lift sanctions. That's it. We give them back their own money. By the way, Trump, on the campaign trail, fear-mongered about this nonstop. Nonstop. He would say all the time that, you know, why did Obama give billions of dollars to Iran? What he didn't tell you is that money that was given to Iran was Iranian money that we had taken from them. So we give them back their own money. We lift sanctions, by the way, slowly but surely, after it's proven that they're not creating a nuclear weapon and that they're regulated and the IAEA can go in there and make sure of it. And that was the deal. They don't create a nuke. We lift sanctions. We give them back their own money, and we're done. Now, the UN says, hey, they were following the deal to a T. In fact, even after we pulled out of the deal, they kept following the deal. Why? Because of Europe. Europe was saying, hey, we know America's acting all crazy and whatnot, but let us assure you that you don't have to worry because we're going to follow the deal. And we're not going to, like, let your economy collapse, basically. And what we've done is continually added more and more sanctions to the point where now a lot of basic medicine is not getting into Iran, and people are dying because they don't have access to basic medicine. And so we sanction the economy. We try to force their oil exports to zero, which is what they just announced a few weeks ago. And now Trump goes out there and is like, what, me? Us? Now, listen, bro, we're reasonable. Hey, I say to Iran, just give me a call. All we want is for you not to get a nuclear weapon. Do you have any idea how infuriating it must be if you're in Iran and you hear this comment coming from Trump? Because that was the fucking deal, dude. That was the deal. Now, let me tell you the reality. Here's what I think is actually going on. I don't think Donald Trump is controlling our foreign policy pretty much at all. I think it's Pompeo and I think it's John Bolton more than anybody. I think they are the ones who are really controlling our foreign policy. Like when you remember, it was probably, how long ago was it now? 3 months, 4 months ago, something like that. We had Trump just announce one day on Twitter, we're getting out of Afghanistan. We're coming home. He did the same thing with Syria. Now, notice, we didn't get out of Afghanistan and we didn't get out of Syria. And I think what's happening is honestly one of the same things that happened that was laid out in the Mueller report where they said Trump would tell his like minions, go fire Comey, and not Comey, Mueller, and then they wouldn't do it. And Trump would just fucking forget about it and move to the next thing. He makes these proclamations and then nothing happens. And this is one of those instances of like, I don't think he knows anything about the Iran deal. He doesn't know the deal. He doesn't know the specifics. He doesn't know the chronology of events. And I think that Bolton and Pompeo capitalize on Trump being a dipshit and having the attention span of a gnat, and they just do whatever they want. So when Trump says we're getting out of Syria, we're getting out of Afghanistan, and then we don't do that, what do you think happened? You think Trump changed his mind behind closed doors? That's possible. But what I think is more likely is he's a dipshit and doesn't know anything. And Bolton's like, yeah, exactly, we're going to do that. And then they just don't do it. So, I mean, there's no other explanation for this. I mean, what is the other explanation? I mean, it's possible that Trump knows the details of everything with the Iran deal and he's like lying. He's saying, well, hey, all we want is for them not to get a nuke. And he knows that, well, that's what the old deal was successfully doing. But I honestly think it's more likely. I think Occam's razor is he really is that dumb and he doesn't know anything. And he's really ignorant on all this stuff. And he just goes out there and speaks from his ass. And the media cycle goes off of what Trump says relentlessly. But the people really controlling it are like Bolton and Pompeo. I think that's true. Now, by the way, that doesn't exonerate Trump. That just makes Donald Trump a hell of a lot like George W. Bush, because if you remember, the stories coming out of the Bush administration were W. Bush was making like none of the decisions. It was really Dick Cheney who was steering the ship. And now we have a situation where it looks like it's probably, I don't know how much Pence is involved, but definitely John Bolton and Mike Pompeo on foreign policy, maybe Pence too. Like they're really steering the ship. So if anything, Trump is a hell of a lot like W. Bush, where he's not smart enough or strong enough to really fight back against this and say, like, no, we're not gonna fucking do another regime change war. But it just kind of happens. It just goes on and he doesn't stop it. And that's why there was a story the other day that came out which said that, Trump was publicly questioning Bolton's strategy on Venezuela. And he was saying, like, he's being dragged into another regime change war here, and he doesn't want to be involved in that. And honestly, what that is, I think it's a similar dynamic. I think Bolton probably told Trump, like, it's going to be quick, this is going to be easy, Maduro's already about to fall, Gallardo's got popular support all over the place, let's just back him, a little bit of a push, and then the regime will fall, and then you'll get all the credit, and we're donezo. And then, a month later, the coup fucking fails. The Maduro regime is still in control, and Trump's now he's going, oh, fuck, why did I agree to that? And he's trying to pawn off blame to Bolton so that he can turn around in the next election, and he can turn around when he's asked about it, and he can say, it was all John Bolton was in control of that, and I disagree with that, and that was wrong. Now I'm in control, and we're not going to do that. I think Occam's razor is he's trying to pawn off blame so that he can walk away scot-free, because remember, he ran largely on non-intervention. He said, we're not going to do any more regime change wars, and now Bolton's trying to do a regime change war in Venezuela, so he's going to pawn off blame and take no responsibility for it, because that's Trump 101. He's done it a million times before, he'll do it a million times more. He just blames everybody else. Like, yeah, fuck it. I'm going to blame everybody else, and I'm going to walk away and act like I did nothing wrong. I think that's what he's doing with Venezuela. He's expressing skepticism now, so we can turn around and say, it was Bolton. It's not me, it was Bolton. So, either way, he deserves blame because he's not strong enough to actually put an end to this shit, and he should be because he's the commander-in-chief. Dude, you want to act on it? Fucking fire Bolton. Fire Bolton, fire Pompeo. Get rid of these fuckers, dude. If you actually believed in non-intervention, you would have not let any neocons in your administration in the first place. And at the very least, when you make a proclamation that's to get out of Syria or get out of Afghanistan, you wouldn't let them not follow through with it. So, I don't know exactly what the situation is, but this comment from Trump is incoherent. All we want is Iran not to get a nuke. So, in other words, all you wanted was the Obama-Iran deal. That's what you wanted. You're either the biggest liar on the planet or you're totally dumb and ignorant. I don't see any other possibilities.